Thank you for being here. Thank you for carving out this time to go within, to honor yourself, to slow down, to do some contemplation, to be in a room of other people that are on this journey. I know how isolating it can feel at times. I know how hard it can feel at times. And just the fact that you're here doing this work is already, you're walking your purpose and you're impacting the world, period, the end. There's nothing else that you need to be doing. So thank you for being here. Just to set the container, really. First and foremost, I want you to know that each of you is what's important, the most important on this call. Not the numbers, not the keys, not the spheres. It's you and every other person that's on here as well. And because of that, I need you to know that you are not taking up time or taking up space or taking up anyone's energy or any of that. You deserve to be here and to dig into the things that you want to dig into today. And everyone else's job is to intuit the learnings that you are gathering, right? Everyone, because we are all just mirrors of one another, can apply the situation that you are going through to your own life. And that's what I want you thinking about. Where do I see this in my life? Where can I picture this person's struggle? What have I done to get through it? Or what do I need to do to get through it? Which brings me to my next piece, which is sharing wisdom. Please, this is called a wisdom call, not because I have the wisdom and I'm here to impart it to you. No. We are the same. And everyone has this wisdom. It's inside of you. And so if you have wisdom to share, share it. I don't have everyone's life experience. You might have someone's life experience that I don't have. You would be a much better person to speak into the situation than I would be. At the same time, I want you to do a check to make sure that what you're saying is helpful and is coming from a place of lived experience, something that you've been through, something that you know. And whenever possible, express it in that way. So not, you should do this, but here's what I did to get to the other side. That's the most impactful way that we can help one another here. Confidentiality. This container is a container, and that means what is said here stays here, with the exception of course, this will be posted on the YouTube channel. So the caveat or ask I have of you is I do not want that to stop you from feeling safe in this container. So if there's anything that you share that you do not want going on the internet, all you have to do is email me after this call. Just reply to the email where I sent the reminder. Let me know that you don't want that part going out, and I will edit it out before I put it on the channel. Okay. Okay. Did I forget anything? I think that's all of it. Okay, great. Just to get us all present here, if you can get upright in your posture, whether that's sitting or standing. Shoulders are back, belly is soft, and we'll put our hands on our belly or on our chest, or maybe one on each. I just want to feel into your body now. Feel for any tension, any tightness. Not trying to get it to release or let go, but just to be with it, to sit there, to stay there with it, to comfort. I want you to just tune in to any energies swirling around you. We've had a lot happening over the past week. And same, just feel that energy wherever you are, whether today you feel peaceful or you feel angry or you feel sad, whether those things are coming from something deep inside of you or from the circumstances external to you. Just allow it all. Notice the swirling, the changing of tone, of color. And through it all, the anchor of our breath. Taking a big inhale now. And letting it all go. Let's do another big inhale. And letting it all go. One more, breathing in grace. Releasing what no longer serves. And when you feel ready, gently bringing yourself back into the room, wiggling fingers and toes, and opening your eyes when you're ready. And with that, my friends, the floor is open. Whoever feels called to share something, anything, whether it's something Gene Keys related, a struggle that you're going through in your life, some joy that you have.
So I'll go then.
Perfect.
Because it's been a rough week, and I don't know about you guys. It's been really challenging. A lot of things have happened, and obviously, I think the whole world was watching the elections, and that was. I did not sleep that night. I had like flashbacks from 2016, and I didn't want to wake up, and then I woke up, and it was challenging. And so this week I've been, and we talked about this before, but this week I've been thinking about the feminine and the masculine, and how I actually think I have trouble with my masculine side more and more. I'm realizing this. And everybody's talking about how it's so important to get in touch with your feminine side. And I think I have that sorted. I think that's good. But I find myself getting angry a lot at men often. And I think I identified that it's not actually men. Obviously, I don't have issues with men. I do think it's the masculine energy that I can be a bit angry about sometimes. So I was trying to investigate, why is that? Why do I feel that way? And I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's obviously something that I lack there. I don't have, I think, that relationship or balance between the feminine and the masculine sorted. And that's just, I've just been in my head a lot about that this week. So if anyone has insight or shared experience.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Where do you feel that the masculine is missing within you? How does that show up, in other words?
So lately what I found is, and this might be a silly example, but for example, like career-wise and like the material things, I thought I was fine, but I'm noticing I'm maybe not there where I want to be, and I think also I become impatient with people who I find emotionally immature. And so these are the patterns I've noticed this week.
When you say you're not where you want to be career-wise, does that mean financially? Does that mean a position that you're after? What does that mean?
Maybe it's financially a little bit, but also I don't have that masculine drive that I think I probably should have to an extent. Like I said, to balance. I don't need a crazy amount. Let's just balance the two things. So I think I'm noticing I don't have a lot of drive lately, and there's room to improve that.
I want to challenge you on that because
Okay.
I know you and I know what you've done and are currently doing. Is it true or not true that you are currently in a PhD program?
Yes, it's true.
Are you currently working on that PhD?
Yes.
Do you also have a full-time job?
Yes.
Okay. So it seems to me you're doing quite a bit out in the world.
Okay. In that case, I'm not doing the right things.
Okay. Say more.
In that case, I do have a job full time, which is not related to anything. And I think it's taking up time from things that maybe matter more.
Yeah. So now we're getting there. Now we're getting a little bit closer. So now it's the realization that maybe the full-time job that we have is not totally aligned to what you want to be doing out in the world.
Well, that's a fact.
All right. Okay. And I think that you do have pretty amazing qualities on the masculine side and in the doing side of things. So my perception here is that you are in a kind of natural rhythm, right? Remember, we are constantly moving with the tides back and forth between these poles of everything, right? But certainly of masculine and feminine. And what we need to remember is that for a very long time, the feminine has been in service to the masculine. And that is totally backwards. So the way that things should be set up is that the feminine is the overarching principle, and emerging from the feminine is some sort of, well, could be anything, right? It's the void space. And arising up out of that void comes something. And then we turn on the masculine in order to engage with that something and bring it out into the world. And so perhaps what's happening here is that your feminine principle is really turning back on because you are being asked to go within and to take some time and to be with this feeling of things aren't quite right. Things aren't quite aligned. And to be with that discomfort and to wait. And you will, from that, then feel something that pushes you in another direction. And then once you do have conviction, you'll feel that masculine principle turn back on.
Yeah, I'm in the discomfort and I'm not here often. And I almost don't know what to do about it, but thank you. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And there is nothing to do. You're already doing it. You know, it's just being in that wound, that place that we all want to try and quiet down, but ultimately that is the thing that allows the next step to emerge. It comes from that discomfort, and that's why we need to change our relationship to it.
Thank you.
Alicia, please.
Lily, hi. I just wanted to say that I understand your struggle. I think I have a tendency throughout my life to kind of go back and forth between the feminine and the masculine. And some years ago, I decided I was more of a non-binary human. But I still feel like I'm somewhere. I don't know. I've been embracing my femininity more lately, and but I still feel this urge to, I think, strike the balance or something. Like there's this just constant back and forth, um and I understand like the career part being such the masculine driving force in our society these days that like keeps us feeling safe and secure, especially when we don't subscribe to the traditional models of like having the masculine take care of us, when we need to be it all, when we need to be both, the masculine and the feminine. I It's, yeah, it's been a huge topic for me with like my sailing dreams and whatnot, is this like desire to have a partner to do it with, but also like I want to be able to do it myself. And I've like, my partner currently has a sailboat. It requires a lot of work to get it going, and he's very much trapped in the system, kind of working himself to death right now. So there's not much time for like the boat dream. But even so, his boat is so big that I don't feel confident in sailing it on my own, and that's something I really want to work on, is my confidence in my like power and drive. And I think there is the masculinity in that side of things. Um and so I've been starting to refocus my sights on having my own boat that is a manageable size for me to operate on my own, that doesn't require multiple people, that I can, single hand. And but yeah, I don't know, I keep thinking about this whole world of like working, like figuring out what's your hustle to bring in money and all that stuff. And I'm trying to get outside, even though hairdressing, my previous profession, was a very masculine, or not, it was a very feminine type of realm. It still felt very masculine with like running my own business and just, the drive it took to like to do all that stuff and buy a house. And like I've been very independent. And but this year I've really been leaning into my feminine side and realizing like the softness that I need in my life to really like bring myself back into balance, to be able to like sit with my emotions and like let creativity spark out of that, and work on my artwork and work on my children's book. And just like I think that it's a big struggle because the world is so out of balance. I feel you. I feel your sentiments of wanting to be more in balance with your masculine. But I think you're doing it. You're definitely out there striving and achieving. And I think it's about maybe the heart-centered work for us, like getting to the place where our hearts are really in the work that we're doing. Because then that's where the balance, I think, of the masculine and the feminine is. I don't know.
Not only is that where the balance of the masculine and feminine is, it's also where you get to stop worrying about resources,
Yeah.
because that's when crazy, it just starts to flow to you. And I'm speaking from, for the first time in my life, experience feeling that way. you know, like it really, I've heard that time and time again, kind of like when I've heard the, another phase of my life that I had to hear on my own, you're not going to be happy even when you have all the money that you think you want. I had to feel that one through, and that is true. And the other one that I didn't believe until I got there, which for me had to come through softening big time, is that when you're doing what you're supposed to do, the money just kind of takes care of itself. The hard part is the middle ground, right? Moving from where we are now into alignment with where we're going, because that takes a lot of discomfort and a lot of lack of safety and a lot of faith and trust. And for me, it felt like everything was going to fall apart and I was never going to be able to get to the other side. And luckily that wasn't the truth and isn't the truth.
Yeah, I keep having to remind myself that, but I think, thank you, Alicia, as well. And both of you are now basically a mirror to me, and I see what you're saying to me. And I think I needed to be reminded of this part of myself and how every shadow has a gift, right? So the discomfort is actually important, because otherwise there won't be a gift. But because it doesn't happen to me often, I think I lost myself a little bit, and I don't know what else is going on, but it's just been a couple of blows that kind of made me like disconnect. But this is why I knew I needed to be here today, because yes, I like I said, you guys kind of reminded me of what's important and who I am, actually. Because Alicia, I think as you were talking, you made me realize that I do have more balance actually than I thought I did, because now I have forgotten that I do have a lot of things going on, and when you are only in your head, you forget about it. But if you have people to discuss it with and they reflect it back to you, then you're reminded. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. This reminds me of an Alan Watts quote that I found yesterday, or came across yesterday, which I absolutely love Alan Watts because he is so playful and he gets it. Like, clearly he gets it. But the quote was, "Don't be afraid. You're going to make it. It's always going to feel as if you're not. But that's the fun, you see?" I just love him so much. It's always going to feel as if you're not going to make it. And you are. I promise you are. And that's what creates the drama. That's what creates the fun. That's what creates this whole experience that we are living. And just like Lily said, we get close to it. We get too close to it, and we start to take it so seriously. But this is all just a game. The trick is to learn the rules. And once you know the rules, everything changes.
It's so funny you said that, because I've been listening to, what's his name? Robert Edward Grant, I think,
yeah.
about life being a game. So that's just a synchronicity right there. And I love that. And I know Boucher has been listening to it as well, because I sent it in our group chat. So that's so funny.
It is. It's true. It's and that's the key. Another I was listening to Rick Rubin's podcast, which, if you don't listen, it's called Tetragrammaton, which is just another word for God if you're unfamiliar. It's a really cool podcast. And he had a guy on that is like an expert in magic, like with a K, magic. And his kind of philosophy of life is to just like be a fun person for the universe to play with. and you will have a fun experience. Like that's ultimately what it's about. But we all get lost and we all forget.
That's it. I am fun. I just forgot that. It's okay. I'll come back.
It will. All cycles, all in cycles. Natasha, please.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
I'm in bed. I'm in London. I'm very sleepy today, but I'm actually a really good sleepy. I'm a very restful sleepy. It's so interesting that today's discussion has begun about the feminine and the masculine. It's been such a theme the last few days, and the words feminine and masculine, yin and yang, even like male distortion, feminine distortion, talking about it in ourselves. I've actually had, I think, one of the most blissful 24 hours I've had in a really long time. And it was given to me by one of my dearest girlfriends. And I'm pregnant, which Jay knows. I'm currently pregnant. I am pregnant, thank God. And I actually missed last time's wisdom call because I found out the gender of Baba. That the time of the call was when we were finding out. And she's a girl. She's a girl. And I, to be honest, I've want to just my honest truth is I would have wanted either, obviously, because you just want a baby to be healthy, and you don't. I didn't have that much of a preference really, but strangely, or not strangely, intuitively, from the moment I was pregnant, I was like, she's a girl. And I had other mamas say to me, your bump is forming like a boy shape. And I totally get it because it's valid. And there are other mamas out there and they're observing me and they're like, that's a boy belly. I'm like, okay, great. Then we'll welcome the boy in. But it's been such a gift to even just maybe understand the intuition of maybe the feminine and the intuition of the mother. And I'm not saying this in the way of we're all supposed to be mothers if we're women, because everyone has a very different journey with that, and that's your own experience and your own need or want or desire. But I think the feminine as creation, or the feminine as the creativity source, and it was a wonderful way to maybe confirm intuition, which was quite beautiful, and maybe to confirm like body intuition, or to confirm like soul intuition, which was a beautiful thing. And bring me to this week. I know it's been a heavy week in a lot of ways because the world is affected by American politics. I'm in no way American, but I know a lot about American politics, and I'm up to date. And on the back end of the election win yesterday, I had an argument with my husband, which was interesting. And it just brought up some things around maybe just like I guess his perception of how the election was going to go and my perception. But besides that, that happened. But then I went away with my girlfriend, and she took me on my baby moon. She took me on a baby moon, and she took me completely on her generosity of spirit. And she's this amazing woman that launched a podcast yesterday, and her podcast is called Humanity at Work. And her entire work that she would like to do through her voice is to talk about working from the heart space and how to connect back to that space, and how we can go into our softness. Like the word softness was coming up a lot, connecting back into stillness, connecting back into just even sitting with our feelings and knowing what feelings we have. So to be honest, even like having a night away from my husband, I was really grateful for my husband to have time away from me, because I wanted him to sit with his, like, whatever his feelings are. They could be completely opposite to mine, but I just wanted him to have his own space, his own energy, his own body, his own time to nourish and reset. And this wonderful friend of mine, she was like, I don't know if I should post today. It's my first ever episode. It's the inaugural one. All the streams are about Trump and Kamala Harris right now. Like, do you think it's a good idea? And I'm like, Christina, I think it's the best idea, because your podcast, the energy of what you're saying, the words you're using, what you're feeling as you have communicated this introduction episode is for me at least, is some of the most profound, loving, thoughtful, considered wording, and from this very beautiful feminine source. It felt really lovely, because it was like, whatever anyone thinks of Trump, that's really everyone's own opinion, and I'm not here to talk about the politics of it, because I just don't think that's my place either. But it was amazing to understand, like, I was sitting next to someone that had a gateway where you can put something out into the world today that's a response to what you might see as a despairing time, or a very misogynistic individual coming into power, obviously, or a very racist, decisive, we can say all the words, but she put it out there. And as I was with her all day, she took me to this like epic hotel, like epic. And I swam for the first time while being pregnant. I love to swim. I finally got to swim. We had like, the hotel upgraded us. And I'm just saying all of this because it was so in flow. Like, there was so much flow. There was so much receptivity. The hotel had put a pregnancy pillow on our beautiful big duffel bed. We each had a duvet, but they gave me a pregnancy pillow. They just knew I was pregnant because of dietary requirements. They had no other reason, and they did that on their own accord. I didn't bring like face cleansing wash or balm. The next morning on our table, we had not said anything to anyone. On our table, there was cleansing balm for the face from the hotel. Like, I was kind of like, what is going on? Everything's in flow. And I think we just held each other for 24 hours in this very mutual receptivity of just speaking very kindly and gently and softly. And this hotel is surrounded by trees and has water, like a pool and sauna and steam. And I know this all sounds quite like this is indulgent, but I think what was beautiful about it was that it's okay to remember that you can indulge yourself, you can indulge your body, you can take care of your body, you can receive gifts from people that might want to care for you in that way. And this whole thing was a gift from her. And I had to keep on saying, are you sure? Like, shall I cover some of the food? And she's like, Tash, like, this is my gift to you. This is the gift to the baby. Just do not even, just receive. And I'm like, okay, I'm trying. And it was that receptivity that was such a beautiful gift, really. So I think what I'm coming into today feeling is like, I've just had the slowdown of the nervous system, and I've had the opportunity to take a deep exhale. Like, we got there, we both exhaled, like visibly. We let out this huge exhale. And obviously, not that we get to go to hotels every day or stay in nicer hotels every day, but it was even more just like remembering to take moments to be soft, to maybe go sit in your local park or your forest, maybe go with a trusted, girlfriend or boyfriend, whoever, anyone, and you give each other a show of love and care that is tender and considered and joyful. And I think the whole thing just has left me feeling like really, really quite grateful that in such a whirlwind of change, it's so grounding to just tap into the reality of what is sometimes, and what is maybe sometimes you could have one friend or 10 friends or 500 friends, but it could be that one person that gives you just so much care and sincerity, and to really accept and shine back to them, hopefully, that same care and sincerity. but it really just kind of gratified the feminine, I think, for me. And I do identify, I guess, a lot with feminine energy, and I probably have a lot of struggles with masculine, which I think I've talked to Jay about. But I really respect the masculine, and I want to learn more and do more and be more active in the masculine for sure. But I think I just wanted to share some joyful receptivity about that today. So thank you for listening.
Thank you for speaking. I was just thinking about that before the call, that so often these go so dark. and it is nice to just, and there's nothing wrong with that, you know. Sometimes we gotta go into the dark, but also we can also go into the light. That's another part of this, speaking of balance. So I'm very grateful that you shared that, and just beautiful reminder and advice for everyone here to take care of yourself. And I really want to hone in on one point, which is working on learning to receive and learning to be receptive, because so many people are craving support, and yet many of those same people are being offered support, but it's not the kind of support they want, or it's not what they thought it would be, or it's not, you know, insert whatever reason that you're not accepting that support. And it really is worth doing some contemplation about receiving and your ability to receive. And not talking to you, Natasha, that's just across the board for everyone.
No, I got it. No, yeah, I think exactly, and how to ask for help and how to ask for support is such a hard thing for most people, including me. Like, most of us have no idea how to ask. But it's been so affirming to find myself in a time right now where I'm learning, you know, there's so much safety in like cultivating love, and cultivating love in friendship, or in, you know, with a romantic relationship, if that's what you choose. But it's also like that cultivation and also capacity that we have for love. Like, my friend Christina used the word capacity quite a lot in her podcast introduction, and I found that word really got to me. Like, we have this capacity, and capacity doesn't actually have a limit, or like, when I hear that word, I'm like, wow, what is our capacity? What is our capacity for love? What is our capacity for connection? What is our capacity for grace? And I do think, in a world, or in a time in our world right now, which does feel so disjointed or so disconnected, it's such an opportunity for us to connect even deeper, and for us to give each other grace even deeper, and for us to have our capacity maybe extended even further or wider. And I think, you know, everyone needs a little bit of TLC at the moment, actually, more than anything. We don't need harshness, we don't need sternness, we don't need to like revel, I think, in the darkness too much at the moment, because it's very apparent. So we can observe it. We can obviously have our opinion. We know how it affects us in our own individual lives, and those we love, and culturally, societally, community. But I do think a direct response right now is to be in love and embodying love and cultivating love, and all the loves, right? All the loves that we choose. Platonic, Eros, all of them. I just think it was a really great reminder these last few days. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'd add one more type of love to what you just mentioned. What I think is the most important love is agape.
Yeah, I forgot the word. I'm sure Jay's going to say it, so I'm just going to wait, because I can't remember this word. I cannot remember.
So for those that are uninitiated here, these are Greek terms for love. And in our language, unfortunately, we have the one word, which is love. In the Greek language, there are at least three that I know of. There may be more, but there's philos, which is like a brotherly love, like a friendship or a sisterly love, you know, somebody that you're close with, that you love. And then there's eros, which is usually more, relationship driven love, like passion. Like that's typically in the Western culture, I think, what we would associate with love most closely. It's a romantic love, right? It's a sexual situation. And then we've got agape. And agape is God's love. It is the love that is in everything. It is the love that we talk about in spirituality. It is this source of peace and joy and light and safety, and it's always with us. We just have to remember and tap into it. A couple other things that came up for me. So in the work that I'm doing with people, I'm coming to a pretty clear realization here as I'm a few months in now. And that realization is that the people that I'm working with, a couple of whom are here right now, don't need me to tell them what to do. They don't need education from me. They don't need guidance. What they need is my presence and my love. What they need is to feel supported, to feel seen, to feel heard, to know that somebody else is on the path right now, right beside them. And that takes a lot of pressure off of me and hopefully off of them, because there's nothing to do. There's just us being there for one another and being that mirror of love. Richard talks about, to go back to something Natasha was saying about this capacity and continually opening wider and wider. One of the things that Richard says is that the heart knows no bounds. The heart will just continue to open and open and open. And it is our biggest fear, or one of our biggest fears, that we are going to be overwhelmed. We're going to be submerged by the external circumstances in our life, that our heart will not be able to open wide enough to handle what comes to us. And because of that, we live protected, safe lives. And that safety, because of the fear that your heart isn't going to be open wide enough, is what's stopping you from sitting in that feminine discomfort, that unknown, and allowing that thing to emerge, which comes from knowing that your heart will open wide enough. In my case, I actually have boundlessness as my gene key there in my SQ, which is all about opening. There are no bounds, right? We go as wide as we need to go. Okay, so I saw Patrice, I think, was the first hand up, so we'll go over there first.
Hi, I'm Patrice.
What's up?
I heard you mention earlier I am a little shy, so I didn't really say anything at the time. But this synchronicity that's going on with the conversation and where it's heading is so beautiful and so in alignment with. I feel like my life's a really big part of my life's purpose. Being a 5'2", I have that masculine, feminine. I feel like everything in my life, having a head, an ajna, and a spleen, and a ego lit, that large split between masculine and feminine kind of energy. I mean, ego can give or take masculine and feminine there. I really love that whole thing you said, Natasha said about how she spent her 24 hours. I spent my 24 hours the same. I spent my 24 hours unplugged because it was everywhere. It was everywhere, and went straight for the emotion, because I don't really like the delay of holding feelings for a long time. I kind of just, when they come, I do them in real time. I like to feel my feelings as they happen and kind of like process them that way. But I really like that whole unplugging, going into nature, kind of feeling, and luckily you had someone there that was really supportive and was a light at the time, and like it was just really good vibes. And I really wanted to share that with the people that I had in my space. Wasn't quite the same. It wasn't as receptive, which I understood. Everyone has their process and their way and their time, how they handle life's curveballs and ups and downs. So I love that. But I I think it's so interesting. This conversation has been on this masculine and feminine things. One area I feel so having a masculine container for the feminine kind of experience my entire life has been based around. And in some way, I feel like that's what I'm here to bring for people to the balance of, I mean, I'm sure everyone is, but I think it's really loud because of how opposite I am, how separate I am in that way, where I'm very logical. I have a logic channel. I'm very logical, but I'm also intuitive with the surrender, and so a lot of 2 lines in my gene key profile, a lot of 2s, even though I'm really masculine. When my conversation can be very, like that. The surrendering part and the emotional part has been the best. I know a lot of people have a hard time dipping into that emotional part, and emotions being so loud, especially with what's going on in the temperature around, politics and things like that. I really wish there was a way. My thing, I don't want to like side rail from what Natasha's saying, but I wanted to.
No.
I don't know if anyone had anything to say or anything about what I'm going to ask, or what I'm going to say. But like, I really want to help people, give people a process on how to handle their emotions, how to sit, how to be with their emotions and kind of process it as it comes, because that's been a lifesaver for me, kind of in real time. And I have like a series of questions and things that can kind of get them to dip into it, but I get a lot of resistance there. I get a lot of resistance when I try to, like, because being a projector and everything, it's like, you gotta wait, you gotta be invited. But like, I don't know if that's a thing you can do. I don't know, but like, that is my area, my jam. Like, I really want to help people. I want to help people get under the surface on things, and then it become natural. It'd be like, okay, as it comes, this is my experience. I feel it. This is my experience. And then I have my way of kind of going through it, self-soothing, or releasing, self-soothing, that kind of thing. And I know there's therapy for that, but I kind of want to teach people how to do it, um, in their own, be more self-sufficient there, maybe, or have someone that they can do it with, or what have you. But I was just a thought and something I wanted to share. I don't know if I took things left, but that's pretty much all I have.
Beautiful. Can I ask a couple
Beautiful.
things? Send a couple things back?
For sure.
Okay. So first, unsurprising that you are an emotional person. Good for you that you are able to process them as they come so that they do not get stuck, which leads to all sorts of issues, especially for a second line or for somebody that has a lot of second lines. And the reason that I say that is second lines are very emotionally charged people. And oftentimes that emotional charge comes out sideways because second lines don't know how to handle it because it's such an intense feeling, right? And so either it gets repressed and you get mad at yourself or angry or upset about how the world is working, but you keep it to you, or you lash out at somebody else and you blame them for how you're feeling. That's typically when you're in the shadow frequency, one of those 2 things is going to show up. And it sounds like you've done a really good job, and I'm sure you're not perfect, none of us are, but a really good job at learning how to sit with those. And so you're the perfect person to bring this out into the world. So I encourage you to stick with this. I encourage you to feel into it a lot more, because this is something that you have personal experience with, something that you have gone through. And therapy isn't for everyone, right? There is a ton of people that are averse to therapists for one reason or another. My girlfriend works in mental health, and with a lot of minority populations, and especially Black women or people of color, Black men also, but the health system has not served them well historically. And so there is a lot of people that are averse in plugging themselves into the system. And so you, as a Black woman, I think have a really great opportunity to fill that gap for people that have some fear or want somebody of similar life experience or background to them. So that's just one thing that came up for me. The other is, have you by any chance caught the video that I put up maybe a couple weeks or a month ago now about alchemy?
I have not.
Okay, so that's your homework assignment from this. I want you to go and watch.
What is it called?
Oh man, I will look and put it in the chat when I'm not talking.
Okay.
If you go to the channel and then just go to like latest videos, you know, it's only going to be 2 or 3 back. Like it's really close, but it's got alchemy. It's got alchemy in the title of it.
Perfect.
And the reason that I say that is because it is kind of a structure that might give you some ideas around how to build out your process and helping people sit in and deal with emotions. So the whole idea behind alchemy is that we need to be able to create this crucible, this container in our belly that is able to hold our emotions, that gives us some separateness from them so that we can process them and turn the lead into gold, right? That's ultimately what alchemy is about.
But can I say
Sure.
just really quick? So there's resistance that came in because I want to use this framework. Like I want to use this system, you know, like gene keys and human design and those kinds of things. And my community is not as receptive, or maybe because they just don't understand. I feel like it's brilliant. I mean, this is like therapy on steroids in a way, you know. It's brilliant, but it's hard to enroll when there are people who, you know, are very heavy in their faith and religion, and I'm kind of in that kind of area. And so that is where I have the apprehension, I think, a bit as well.
For sure. So my advice there is bury the lead, meaning although the work that you are going to do with people is deep spiritual work, they don't need to know that right out of the gate. What they care about.
I love that. I thought that too.
Yeah. What they care about is that whatever issue it is that they're struggling with, right? That they're feeling sad, that they don't have the job that they want, that they have whatever. And so that is what you speak to them about. You meet them where they are. And then when the time is right, when you've built trust and you'll sense it, you know, you'll sense this opening, then you can start to filter in some of this other stuff, you know, a little bit more directly. And it's not a bait and switch. A lot of people that I talk to about this are like, well, that's a bait and switch. I'm telling them that I'm going to do this and then I'm doing this thing with them. No, you're not switching what you're doing. You're just, you're using their language, right? And it's one of the most loving things that you can do because you're meeting somebody where they are. You're doing what they need, not what you need. So often we just want to preach our message regardless of whose ears is hearing it. And that's not the way to build trust with somebody and to have deep and meaningful relationships. Richard talks about he had a really tough relationship with his father, and it continued for much of his life until one day he went out to his garden with his dad, and his dad is like really big gardener, and he knows all the Latin names for all the plants and all the flowers. And Richard could care less about this. Richard had always tried to tell him what he was doing and tell him about the spiritual stuff, and his dad had no interest. And for whatever reason, in the moment that they were out in the garden, he was just able to tune in to his dad's really strong desire to share all of this stuff about these plants and about what the Latin means and how they got named and all of that stuff. And Richard met him there and had a really deep conversation there, and it opened up their relationship and allowed him to talk about some of the other things. And that's really what comes up for me now, is just like meeting somebody where they need to be met so that you can guide them to where you're trying to get them to go.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome very much. And I really encourage you to stick with this. Like, the world needs it, especially right now. Thank you for being here. Thank you for battling your fear and speaking also.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Okay, Andre, over to you, my brother.
I'm so grateful that we're talking about balance today. I want to touch upon a couple of things. So I heard a quote, forget where, but it was really powerful. If you're too much in the light, you can't see anything. But if you're too much in the dark, you also can't see anything. You got to bring it back to the balance. And throughout my 5 year of this personal development / spiritual journey, that's basically what I've been cultivating, the masculine and the feminine. Just so you all know, I didn't know that men had feminine energy for a very long time. I didn't know a damn thing about that at all. It's only until Tony Robbins talked about the masculine and the feminine, like, okay, now I understand what he's talking about. And I mentioned earlier in the chat, like, giving and receiving is the same energy. It's on just a different frequency. It's sort of like ice and steam, right? They're basically the same. So I had an incident, not an incident, it was a opportunity. I was in New York City. This was like 2 years ago, and I was with one of my soul brothers. And I love giving. I love to give. And we were having lunch, and I offered to pay. But because there was like two masculine energies, like, I want to pay. So I'm like, I'm gonna pay. And we had this like debate, like, go on. I'm like, fuck. Like, I want to pay. Like, you came to see me, so let me be the one that pays. He's like, he gave me such a great perspective. And I was like, and it left me to this day. And this is how I fully starting to receive. He's like, brother, you're depriving me of my happiness right now. Do you want to do that to me? I want to give, and you're depriving me of my happiness to give to you. I'm like, I threw my hands up in the air. I'm like, okay, all right. I receive. Go ahead and pay. So he paid, and he was happy. So I'm like, from that moment on, I was like, anytime somebody is offering anything, whether they're paying or they just want to do something nice, because I was very bad, as I'm going to call it, at receiving. I was always the giver. I appreciate it. I fully receive. I fully just allow that to receive. So I'm so grateful that today's conversation started talking about balance. And, Jay's been watching some of my content on Instagram. I'm on Facebook as well, and I've been doing lives, and I'm just kind of shooting the shit. I don't know where it's going to go. I'm just kind of whatever. But at the same time, I'm doing and I'm being. That's the thing that I had to learn. The masculine, the feminine, the light, the dark, it's the law of polarity, law of correspondence. It's everything. We're all of it. I just had to realize that all this is all encompassing. We're all one. And that quote again from yesterday or whenever I heard it was like, you're too much in the dark, but you're too much in the light. You can't see shit. You have to be in the middle. I was like, fucking brilliant. So I don't know if whoever is meant to hear that was for you to hear. So that's all I wanted to share. but balance. It's all about balance at the end of the day.
It is. If you've never read the Tao Te Ching, I highly recommend reading it. It's shorter than you would think for a wisdom book. So not just you, Andre, that's everyone on this call. If you've never read the Tao Te Ching, I really recommend it. It's all about finding the balance, finding the middle way, finding the path of least resistance, right? Like water through rock, which comes from the Tao Te Ching. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is the Hermetic principles. If you have never, and again, I know you have, Andre, but other folks on this call, if you've never investigated the Hermetic principles, I really recommend that you do, because it talks about a lot of the things that we're talking about today. There's actually a book on YouTube called The Kabbalion that is like 3 or 4 hours, like it's relatively short, that walks through these principles. But two that I want to highlight right now is the principle of polarity, which is the idea that everything has its opposite and extremes meet. And one thing I like to bring up when talking about polarity is, we tend to only see the extremes, and so we see them as different energies. But in reality, if you think about this, there's this gray area in the middle, right? Like, where does dislike become hate? Or like where, and those are obviously, you can do the same thing on the positive side. Where does like become love or whatever? There's probably 7 other words that are in between those things. And so if you think about it in that way, it's impossible to draw this line, right? Where this is love and this is hate or fear or whatever you want to call the opposite. And so if it's impossible to do that, then we know that this is one energy, right? And we get to choose how to engage with that one energy. The other one is gender, which is the idea that both masculine and feminine qualities or principles exist in everything. So like I said, this goes like hand in hand with the conversation that we're having right now. So if you've never investigated that stuff, give it a go. And then the last thing I'll bring up as a resource for people that are thinking more about balance is the 60th gene key, which is actually my purpose. And the 60th gene key is limitation, realism, justice. And ultimately, justice is divine balance. And I'll let you dig in. It's a very deep gene key. So spend some time with it if you're going to go there. It took me quite a while to unpack. Okay, Alicia, over to you. You're the next hand I have up.
I just kind of wanted to keep in on this conversation of, especially where you were just talking about, Jay, but I think it's just in the same vein of everything we're speaking on. And my last 24 hours, I was doing all these things to do self-care for me. And in the middle of my day yesterday, I was walking my dog down like downtown Port Townsend Strip, and this is a very like liberal area. But of course, there were like a 10-car Trump parade going to the downtown Strip over and over, and they were just smiling and waving at everyone on the streets, and people on the streets were flipping them off, and it was just this like kind of like battle of the shadows. Like I felt like both the shadows, and this woman was leaning out of her car with all of her Trump flags hanging off, and she's got a phone. She's like recording me on the street and trying to get a reaction out of me. And for the first time in my life, I just felt like I don't care. I just kept walking. And I just felt like I had this amazing shield. Sorry for the loud planes.
No worries.
I felt I had this like, I think all this work I've been doing around like all the shadow work stuff with my dad and has like really led me to this place of like not letting the externals impact me and like really come in and take my peace from me, and how to really focus in on like what it is that I need. And I don't need to be getting riled up by all these external outputs. And I think that I'm just kind of hearing that a lot in this whole like conversation of the way that we let things in, or whether we receive them, or there you can choose what you're receiving too, I guess, is my message.
Absolutely. And Alicia, what that is like such an important lesson for yourself and for everyone else on this call. And it's one of the things that I said last time, I think, or maybe 2 times ago. This kind of speaks to do you want to be happy or do you want to be right? Ultimately, that is a question that you need to ask yourself often when you feel that trigger go off and you feel that you need to be sucked in and dragged down into a frequency that is pulling on you. And so often, because we don't feel safe, because we don't feel seen, we feel like we need to say our piece. We need to speak up. The other person needs to hear me. Why do they need to hear you? I hear you, right? Sometimes it's important for people to have a different perspective and a different outlook, but you need to use your intuition and your discretion and your discernment to know whether that person is in a position that they're going to be able to hear what you're saying to them. Because otherwise, you're going to get sucked in and nothing's going to change other than the fact that you're now mad. The other thing that I just want to reflect back to you, Alicia, is that you use the words, I don't want them to be able to take my peace from me. And I want to offer an alternative, which is that nobody can take your peace from you. And on the deepest level, there is no one else to take that peace. And this goes back to the 6th gene key. If you've never read or listened to the 6th gene key, conflict, diplomacy, peace, my mind was blown when that gene key exploded in me. That's my EQ. And I could not believe one line that he says in that audio is, the 6th gene key is all about the idea that you worry that someone is going to be able to take something from you. And that could be your peace, or at the deepest level, it could be your life. And then he goes on to say, man, it still just gives me the goosebumps when I think about it. He goes on to say, what you'll come to realize at a certain point is that there's no one there to take those things from you in the first place. Meaning, I am you and you are me. And when that comes all the way in, it totally changes how you operate. Kiki, I want to kick to you. I saw that your hand was up and then down and then went back up. So I want to kick over your way.
I keep putting it up and down. I've put it up and down like 5 times. I'm just like feeling super sensitive. I don't know if I keep changing my mind about talking because
You're a little bit quiet. Could you maybe get a little closer to your phone?
sorry, I'm using my phone and the speakers on the bottom. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's a little better. It's still a little muffled, but we'll make it work. It's good enough.
Yeah. I think I just can't. I keep putting my hand up and down because I am feeling super sensitive. So I'm not like sure where I'm at with speaking right now, but I also can't seem to like hold on to anything. I can't even like hold on to like thoughts. Everything is so intense for me right now, but I feel this balance, this really strong theme of balance in my life and in the collective, and also sort of what Alicia was just talking about, like I don't I myself, I'm drawing it crazy polarity into my life right now. And I think it's like, for the purpose really of like, I can see that it's driving me toward wholeness. I can like feel that the reason I'm pulling in this crazy major polarity is like, to do that. That's what it's asking me for, but I don't know. I can like feel the asking for like integration, but I don't know how, I don't really know how. I just feel like everything is like breaking apart. I feel myself smashing to pieces, and I don't know. And it's so intense, and I'm just like, I don't know. My brain is like blowing up. Like I have physical sensations blowing out my back and in my brain. Does anyone else like experience these like physical symptoms? Like, it's so intense. Like, I'm just like, am I okay? Like, I don't know. So much right now. But yeah, I feel this out of balanceness and the need for integration, and I don't really yeah, I don't know. I guess I have not read the Tao Te Ching. I'm going there. I do definitely feel like all the Hermetic playing out in my life so intensely. It's like I'm watching a movie. It's crazy. Like, I don't. I guess that's all I can hold on to for now. That's what I'm at.
Beautiful, Kiki. Yeah. So I just want to speak into a few things. One is that the physical thing is like, that's my path also. And it is very intense and very disorienting and terrifying at times. And I know exactly what you're saying. So the point of me saying that is just know that you're not alone, and it is very normal. And I think part of some people's paths, not everyone's, but I do think that it is part of some people's paths. The other thing is that out of balance feeling, the feeling the opposites, that to me, I mean, and you intuitively said it, right? It's your opportunity to come into integration with those different parts of you. And so it's about putting on the seatbelt, I think, and knowing that you're gonna kind of go through the spin cycle, right? Go through the wash cycle as these things start to realign and start to unify back inside of you. And you're doing exactly what you need to be doing, which is just being with them and feeling crazy and just honoring those both ends, inside of us. In the last video that I did ego versus soul, right? How do we know what we're listening to? And as part of that video, I talked about Schwartz's IFS, internal family systems work, and the fact that we have all of these different parts of self, some of which are total polar opposites of one another, and yet we contain both of them. And so it's about deciding or discerning whether or not the goal is, sometimes that's, depending on where you are in your process, that's needed. It's necessary to have these two different components, and there's nothing wrong with that. But other times they're meant to kind of come together and turn into one character. And so it's just listening to those characters and doing the work. When you connect really deeply to one pole or the other, my recommendation is that you engage in it. You engage with it, meaning like, I prefer to journal, but you could also just do this in your head if you wanted to. I'm sure you could turn it into a movement practice, but my journaling practice is basically, I name the part of me or the emotion that I'm feeling, and I write my name, Jay, and then I'll ask it a question or tell it how I'm feeling or whatever. And then I'll write whatever I named it, its name, and then I'll allow it to speak to me, through my hand. And in that way, I can start to get familiar with that part of self or with that energy and figure out what it's wanting and how to balance it and all of those things. So I would just invite you to lean in to especially when you're feeling really charged in one direction or in the other direction. And then the other piece that you said that is really important and tells me that you are really close to a breakthrough is the fact that you said it feels like I'm watching a movie. That is a really important statement, because that is how we're able to take this leap of faith that is required to get to the other side of the things that we are really scared or fearful of. We need that bit of separation. It's the reason that we have story. It's the reason that we have archetypes, because we need to connect with those archetypes to get over this gap, to get over this void that feels like our heart will never open wide enough to get across it. The way that we do that is by seeing our life as a movie, by seeing us as the protagonist in that movie, and remembering the reason that we have myth is because it helps us to remember what happens at the end of every myth. Happily ever after, right? It is some sort of completion. It always works out, always. And that myth is there to remind us that it's going to work out so that you can take the leap and get to the other side. So that's just more reinforcement that you're doing all the right things, Kiki. You're welcome. You're muted still, my dear.
Yeah, I'm a 4/6. I'm a 4/6 projector, and I have a lot of sisters. 45, so I'm just like, I don't know. But I was just thinking that I was sort of listening about the Jungian individuation yesterday, and I felt like that was kind of a citizen that was sitting there. I guess, that was just it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's actually, in the gene keys, there's what's called the pathway of individuation.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, so this is not an official quote unquote pathway of the golden path, but the pathway of individuation runs up the center channel of your profile on the gene key side of things. So it's your purpose, your sphere of attraction, your SQ, your pearl, and your life's work. That's the pathway of individuation in the gene keys. And I believe I have a video about this out there, but I'm not positive. So maybe poke around and see if you can find it.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, my dear. Okay, Sylvia.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention before, when Alicia was speaking about how she felt when people were passing by. I learned this from, she's a medical intuitive. Her name is Christine Lang. And one of the things she teaches is you put yourself in a bubble. Whenever the energy doesn't feel well, if I get into my car, I always protect it with a bubble. If you're feeling the energy isn't going well with someone else, you put a mirror in between, like visually, obviously, right? And you block yourself from that energy. And I do it and it works. So it's just a little, in case you guys didn't, maybe you can try it, and that doesn't allow you to lose your energy.
Beautiful.
And another thing, going back to Richard, I was just listening to, and I didn't finish listening to his interview, but he was on Pam Gregory on her podcast, if you want to take a listen.
I'm not familiar with Pam's work. Can you tell me? Do
She's,
you know her?
She's an astrologer. She's
Okay.
an astrologer from UK, and she's on the interview with Richard, and they're speaking about basically where he gets his information. She's an astrologer. They're pretty much so they just met, and they're having this I didn't get to finish the whole thing, but it was very interesting.
Got it. Awesome. Yeah, I'll check it out. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for that. Those little tips and tricks, when you have a big enough toolkit of those, really start to add up, and we can really make change. I love that bubble visualization. And honestly, visualizations at large are just a great tool to do whatever you need to do, whether it's protection or it's, before I get on these calls, I see how they're going to go, what's going to happen, that sort of thing. Like visualization is a very impactful tool for sure. Okay, Carmen Ray, I believe you are next, my dear.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
I wanted to chime in and respond to Patrice. Actually, more than Patrice, but start with Patrice because the what I pursued years ago was searching out how to first of all to identify and pinpoint exactly what I wanted to express and put out into the world myself. So, that was in my early 30s, when I really, the desire was there. And I knew from much earlier than that my desire was to help people know who they truly are. And not in terms of their personality identity, in terms of their essence. And so I was searching for how to do that. I did a lot of searching and a lot of different systems and beliefs, etc., online. And I came across, finally, after a few years, I came across a system that led me to become a trauma resolution specialist. And so really, all that is it's all the same. Everything's the same. But anyway, it's all that is really is finding balance, like we've been talking about today. So it is and I don't even like these words, but transmuting darkness to become welcoming your darkness home. And so the system that I learned when I went for training in California was very, very effective for vets with severe PTSD. And really, it's a whole lot of shadow work. And so what I'm saying by this is it was very powerful and very effective. And so much so that when I was trying to create a business and I would demonstrate this with boards of people, or women's shelters or wherever I went to, the RCMP here in Canada, because they're very traumatized. I don't mean to laugh at that, but anyway, when I went to, I would go to the appropriate people in the hierarchy to demonstrate this, and they were unable to receive it. They were dumbfounded because it worked. Stuff, it really, really worked. And so the long and short of what I want to say here is that what I also learned out of that is if you do this shadow work long enough, you are going to be able to, I was thrilled to bits to hear how you were able to process your emotions immediately. That's so key. And if you do the work long enough, you are able to do it for yourself, move through stuff. And when the first the other thing that I wanted to say is Richard does this attunement before webinars. Like I've just started the Venus webinar, and his attunement, when I listened to it about, about feeling into the discomfort in your body, finding a discomfort spot, and wrapping a smile around it. And the first time I listened to that and listened to the whole thing, I thought, oh my God, that is the way that I used to work with trauma. It's a very, very gentle, non-judgmental approach. So anyway, the long and short of it is that I don't work with trauma in that way anymore, because not in the way that I originally was trained. Because what I realized in listening to everything today is that I have incorporated into my life, into my everyday relationships. And just by deciding, okay, every person that I'm around, every circumstance that I'm in, this, no matter what's going on in the world, I'm keeping my heart open and I'm listening. And there may, or like if I'm speaking to somebody one-on-one, and I talk with everybody wherever I go. So if I'm speaking with somebody one-on-one, I'm listening and I'm meeting them. I'm hearing exactly what they present first to me, what's going on in their life. People are so hungry for connection, they'll tell you. Pretty quick, if you're listening, because people want to be heard. So anyway, I just incorporate, I thought I'm just incorporating this into my life. I can be a container for somebody else's shadow and trauma, not take it in, because I know how not to do that now. And take the conversation as far as they want to go. And I may, there may or may not be something I can say. And I will have to say most of the time, it's just shut up and listen. For me, that's what it is. It's shut up and listen. Because I can see it in their face, I can see it in their eyes, that they so desperately needed to be heard. And when you listen well, they can take it from there. And they will work, you've created an opening, actually, just by doing that and having your heart wide open. You've created an opening for them to process their stuff on their own. And so I guess I'm just, I'm kind of realizing and spilling the journey that, you know, that I've been on. And the value of just meeting people where they're at, and how much what now I'm not you know, processes and techniques, because I learned a lot of processes and techniques are very, very helpful, because they really raise your awareness, help you to be conscious of stuff. I'm what am I saying? I'm just saying, you know, I think it's great when it just becomes very natural to us day to day. It's like, this is what we need to be to each other, you know, like, anyway, that's
Thank you, Carmen Ray. Yeah, when I talk with somebody that's interested in digging in, right? Are we a good fit for one another? I start every single call with the exact same thing. Well, I take it back. I start with, you know, how's the weather? Small talk, just to make people feel comfortable. But after that, when we really get to it, there's one thing I say, which is just, how can I help? And then I shut my mouth. And you will be amazed at where that goes. So often people have this idea, especially in business, right? We have this idea that I need to guide this conversation in a certain direction. And a lot of that comes from fear. Well, if I just say, how can I help? What if this person says something that I can't help with? What the hell am I going to do when that happens? And so we try and have the guardrails on things, and we try and manipulate in a very loving way, but nonetheless, we're trying to manipulate the way that the conversation is going. And to go back to what Carmen Ray said, it really is just, if I say, how can I help? That is like an open gate for people to just spew out what they need support with, right? And then from there, then I get to ask questions. I get to be curious. I get to have fun. And that's what develops the connection and the trust. And that's the name of the game. How can I help? That's like the best question ever.
yeah, it is. I wanted to say also, you know, my my best training has come through my 4 daughters. You know, and I wanted to go back to the you know, masculinity and femininity thing, because I think I've always seen myself as somebody who leans into the masculine, and I'm still working through that. I can be pretty damn hard on myself, as far as I'm, you know, for not for what I perceive as not being balanced. And this really came to my this sore spot came to me when my youngest daughter now, who is 26, she's in a relationship that looks like it's, you know, a year out from now or whatever, there's probably going to be a wedding, you know. And anyway, we had, she's a life coach, and she also has a job on the side. She's a very good life coach, and her prospective partner is a traditional and very wealthy businessman. And we had this conversation around, you know, her having children, And she was really, really concerned about, because she's not fully established in her career. I mean, she's 26. She's just been going at this for, I think, 3 years now, still working on that business and on her life coaching business. And you know, I said to her, you know, and this again, this is coming from my perspective, from my experience, having 4 kids. And I was very, very driven to develop a career. And I don't think I ever found that balance. And like, it was really tough. And especially since I was in a marriage that didn't support it either. So, and I'm not going to say anything more about that. It just didn't work. And so as a result, parenting, I really had to step into the masculine role to carry that end of it. But also, of course, I'm still a mother in all of this. And so what I'm saying is that by the time I got through all this parenting and, my marriage ended, I realized, oh my God, I was so starved for that feminine in me to be recognized. And I really had to nurture myself for a few years because I might as well have been a single mother. So I really had to pick up my function in my masculine side and, pursuing the career, blah, blah, blah. And so in conversation with my daughter about this, I really felt what welled up with me was I didn't realize how much later, after parenting these beautiful daughters, how valuable just parenting is. Just parenting. My God, if I'd known what I know now, wow. But I mean, at least my daughters are seeing me become more balanced and are stepping, seeing me step into the balance more. But I just, in conversation with my daughter, I said, that parenting is absolutely invaluable. There's, and being ultra feminine, which she is. She's ultra feminine. And so it was that was a triggering experience for me, and I'm still working through it. Yeah.
I think that this is a place where, honestly, like, this is a huge part of the reason that our society is as fucked as it is right now, outwardly. Excuse the language, but it's just the reality of the situation. And because everything is paradox, we're exactly where we were supposed to be. I want to be clear and understanding that. But for whatever reason, somewhere along the way, we decided that going out and gathering resources is more valuable than keeping community, keeping the tribe together, keeping the space as it should be. Like, these are all things that traditionally were feminine roles. And I think the feminine runs from it now because it's not valued in society. It's not because I don't think, and obviously I'm not a woman, but I don't think that it comes from a place of like, women not wanting to do those things, it comes from a place of those things aren't seen as valuable by society. And I don't understand why that is. Like, what could be more valuable than raising children? What could be more valuable than keeping a home in such a way that it allows the other half of this relationship to go out and to bring the resources that are needed for the family unit? Like, it is mind-boggling to me that how we wound up here. I just don't understand. It makes no sense. I don't get it, other than I guess the fucking patriarchy causing all kinds of problems. But I'll get off my horse there. That's just something that drives me crazy, because I do think a big part of our solution here is women feeling okay to go back to doing those more traditional roles. And the only way that that happens is if the value is seen in those traditional roles.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to restructure society so that that happens. But
well, I think it's on its way again. I think that because people have such a strong desire for community and for connection, that's one of the big gifts of coming out of COVID. Is pushing us in connecting again. I think there's a lot of at the grassroots, a lot of community building going on around the globe. And when people have that mindset, community, grassroots community is built on strong families that connect, and it's built on the balanced relationships of parents, and I think, oh my God, if I'd been paid my worth in parenting, I'd be a billionaire. I mean, I didn't get a damn cent for it. In fact, I living in the milieu of, you're just right. You're right, of no value, being put down, really.
mm-hmm.
And so anyway, I think that's I think that's coming back. I think the pendulum is swinging. My daughters are way more balanced as far as having partners who both want to support, who both want to co-parent with them, as well as support any career that they may want to pursue. It's a mutual thing, and that's what I think needs to happen. And I was raised in the 50s. Well, God, go watch movies out of the 50s, and that's what you're locked into, and so it's really interesting to be in a call like this with mostly younger people, because I'm seeing the swing from being locked into that whole patriarchal, oh God, what can I say, 50s mindset. And I raised in that and living through it, and now into the masculine and feminine. It's really messy. It's really messy right now, but I'll tell you, it's way more hopeful. At least it's broken open, and I think that, like I said, I think that people are moving towards balance.
I agree. I want to let some of the ladies speak into this. Lily, I saw you off mute. Did you have something you wanted to go to, or do you want me to go to Natasha?
I just wanted to say quickly that we have come full circle on what I was talking about at the beginning, and this is This is exactly what my PhD is in. I teach parents how to raise emotionally intelligent children, right? And this is what I'm feeling right now. If I was just to be valued to do the PhD and then raising my own child, who I have, who is 3 years old right now, I wouldn't need a full-time job. That is exactly what I was talking about. That's exactly it. What you said, Jay, about all that stuff. Yeah, that's my full circle moment. If only it was valued, I wouldn't be in this predicament. But it's just funny how we ended up circling me.
Totally. I know. And I haven't figured out how we got there or how to get out of it. Obviously, if I did, I'd be a genius and probably a bazillionaire. But it's obviously the solution on some level is to unify this inside of self, but there's also a collective transition that needs to happen here, or we're not going to get to the other side.
But it is, and I'll share my literature review with you guys next time if you're interested, because obviously this is what I'm doing. So yes, change is coming and it is going in the right direction. And as you said, we are exactly where we need to be, but it is very hard right now.
For sure. And I'm a single dad. Like, I get it on that side too. So it's not just women, you know. I've had to do kind of the opposite, in like pulling in the feminine has been a huge part of my journey to survive. It's like a weird mirror situation. Natasha, over to you, my dear.
Thank you, Carmen Ray, and thank you, Lily. Carmen Ray, I have 3 sisters, so I'm one of 4 daughters to my mother, and we also have a brother. And I guess just speaking to everything we've all spoken about, and now coming back, as you said, Lily, full circle, something I guess I wanted to maybe share is, I've mentioned before, I'm half Sri Lankan, and I'm going home to Sri Lanka to have my baby. And I'm going home to a community of people that I have grown up around. My mother is Sri Lankan, my stepfather is Sri Lankan, and I have this amazing gift from my family and from my home that I get to go home to an environment and go back to my family home, an ancestral home, a generational home, and live with my parents again in our home. And my sisters are coming home from like Australia because some of them study and work over there. My brother's coming home for some time, and I'm due in March next year. So whatever, some of the siblings will be there maybe before, some will be there during. It's all good. It's all so appreciated from my side. But I think what I wanted to share is that even just culturally in Sri Lanka, so in the East, growing up, we were raised in community. We were raised in a village, and I didn't grow up in a village. I grew up in the city, but I've obviously been to a lot of villages in Sri Lanka. But in our home, and it's a very different culture to the West. I'm aware of that. But in our home, we've always, I guess, had people that work with us in the home. So like our homekeeper, or maybe our ladies who like maybe help cook and all of that, which is such a boon in itself. But because they've always been in our home, they live with us, they eat us the same food, they watch TV, they have their own bedrooms, and my family, my father, my mom would take care of their families. So whatever has happened in their lifetimes with their own children, with their grandchildren, with their education or illness or health, whatever it might be, my family, my parents will then take on, okay, well, this is duty of care because these people are giving their duty of care to us throughout our lifetime. So obviously our duty of care is to extend the duty of care onto them. And one lady has been with us in our home, and she comes, she obviously goes home to see her family whenever she wants or needs. But her name is Padma, and she cooks the most nourishing, nutritious food. And I honestly think she's a medicine doctor, because she did something to me once when I had a back pain that just like changed. I was like, you are a shaman. You need to, anyway, that's another story. But what the beauty is in it is that I get to go home to her and 2 other women that work with our family. They're all kind of they looked after my grandparents. They are nurses by trade. And then I get to be with my mom, and I get to be with our family dog, and I get to be with my papa, and I get to be with my husband. My hubby's obviously coming home with me for us to have our baby. But I just keep thinking it's such a gift in today's society, maybe, to see that polarization. So for Eastern and Western cultures, there is such a maybe a difference in how we've all been raised, but hopefully the beauty of now is that we're coming to the middle ground, where the West is coming more to the East and the East is coming more to the West, and then we will meet in the middle, because being part of that feminine energy, when I think in the birthing and in the aftermath of birth, and then having the men being able to hold those support structures, because men are so wonderful at holding us women up when we need to be held, and they give such safety, and they're so divine when they give that safety, because they are so empowered, because they are feeling safe, which is such a beautiful thing. And I also just wanted to finally say that, it's just so beautiful, because this came to me, we're in like gene key number 1 right now. Gene key number 1. We're starting at gene key number 1 in this very moment in time. And that's entropy, freshness, and beauty is the city. And what I've understood from reading it from the book and from listening is it's about the essence of life and creativity and the source of creativity and all. And I guess the feminine energy of creativity that obviously we all have so deeply in our different ways. So I just think it's been such a wonderful conversation. I've felt very uplifted from what everyone has shared today. And I think I just wanted to also say, like, I think we're going to be okay. And I think we're all on the right path, and we can all walk each other home, and we're all learning so much from each other. And I just really appreciate this community. So thank you. And thank you, Jay, obviously. And thank you, everyone. Thanks for listening.
I'm just going to get off and let you run the call, Natasha. How's that?
Gosh, no, I'm not. You are the container. You're the safe man. You're so wonderful. Please stay. Oh my God.
Thank you.
Thank
That was
you.
beautiful. And I agree wholeheartedly. The path that we're on is, you can see it. I can see it, as with all my bazillion 6 lines. I can see so clearly that we are merging into one path right now. So much so that a lot of traditional wisdom stream teachers are saying that it's the end of that particular wisdom stream, because we're taking the best bits from Buddhism, the best bits from Taoism, from Hinduism, from Jung and Western development, and it's all coming into this like supercharged system, quote unquote, or container of development. And I have a feeling Richard is going to talk about Lily just said, I just talked about it with Richard. I have a feeling it's going to be part of the talk when we are going there, is like, because Lily is also going to this talk.
Oh my God, I'm so happy you guys are going for it. I am in London, but I'm not, because I'm flying out to Sri Lanka, but I'm so glad you guys are going. Tell us all, obviously, after.
We will.
Totally.
Yay. Okay, I want to make sure that we get over to Katisha, and I'm coming up to the end of time. Before I do, just in the chat, in case you need it, the individuation video is there, Kiki, and the alchemy video is there for you, Patrice, if you didn't see it already. Perfect. Katisha, let's go to you, my dear. Am I saying your name right? Did I get it right? You're muted if you are trying to talk right now. Bye, Mary Alice. We'll see you later.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome, my dear. Okay, well, Katisha tries to find the unmute button. Keep looking, girl. We'll be here. I just want to give my normal reminders and also update really quick. Oh, looks like she signed on from somewhere else. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
There you are.
This is my
Perfect.
first time. This is my first time. I'm always catching the replays because I'm working during this time. But I just wanted to let you all know that I'm just so grateful that I hopped on here. It is not a coincidence or accident, because every single one of you resonated with my soul right now. The battle I'm wrestling with, the feminine, masculine, this intuitive yet logical brain I have. Being a mama of 4, just being exhausted, funny thing is my evolution key is gene key 40, which is exhaustion. Um, I'm just so grateful. I'm grateful to be in this space. I'm actually thinking about taking my work breaks at a different time just so I can join you guys. But I just wanted to say thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing that love with us. And I'm for real. Let's go get a coffee sometime. We're super close.
Yeah, I'm there next time. So yeah.
Okay, sweet. You'll get the email recording, and when you do, just respond, and then we'll set up a time.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so let's wrap this bad boy down. My little statements here. Number one, the next wisdom call is not a wisdom call. So I just want to make sure that everyone is aware of that. On the 21st, that's actually when my flight is. It's like 4 p.m. my time to go out to London. So what I'm going to do is I'm still going to do something, but I'm going to try a YouTube live for the first time. So it's going to be at noon. It'll be on YouTube. There is a chat there, but I won't be able to see you, obviously. So the plan is I'm going to do a teaching and then open it up for Q&A. So I'd love to see you then and there if you are able to make it. And then the other thing that I have is if you have any interest in digging in more deeply, I'm at 8 people right now, and I can only take 10. So I've got 2 spots left, and then I'm going to shut it down until probably end of January, beginning of February. So I'm going to take a few months after these next couple people come in. So I just want to make everyone aware of that situation. And then, as always, thank you guys for being here, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, Jay.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Much love.